Hi, my name is Barry Foster and welcome to A-League to the UK. This is a Football Manager 21 save. Well, the whole objective is to see whether, if we start off in the Australian A-League, which is a professional league, can we end up managing somewhere in the United Kingdom? So what I've done, I've loaded all the leagues in the UK. I've loaded all the Scottish, English, Welsh and also the leagues in Northern Ireland. And to be honest with you, I know very little about the Welsh leagues and absolutely nothing about the leagues in Northern Ireland. But anyway, we're going to see how we go when we start off in the A-League. And for those of you who don't know a great deal about the A-League, it's a professional football league that started in 2005 with only 8 teams. It was originally controlled by Football Federation Australia, that's the FFA. And after a promising start, it has seen its fair share of ups and downs, especially in recent years. Late last year, the FFA changed its name to Football Australia and relinquished control of the A-League to a newly formed body called the Australian Professional Leagues, or APL. This means the current 12 A-League clubs will control their league in a very similar fashion to the English Premier League controlling the EPL. The A-League has now been increased to 12 teams with the inclusion of Western United last season. They're based in Western Melbourne. And in the current season, Macarthur FC has joined the A-League and they come from southwest Sydney. There are plans to expand the A-League to maybe 14 or 16 teams and also establish a national second division with promotion and relegation. But at the moment, that's just a lot of talk going on, although there are people pushing to see that all happen in the next 2 to 3 years. So for this save, I've decided to take on the Newcastle Jets as the team to manage, as at the start of the current season, they didn't have a manager. They were still looking for one. So let's go and take a look at the Jets. And as you can see, Barry Foster has been appointed as the club's new manager, a 52-year-old. I think I'll take that age. Thank you very much. And they've been very generous. They've given me a 2-year deal worth $5,250 a week. I think that's a very generous salary. And I replaced the previous manager, Carl Robinson. Now, Carl Robinson is a Welshman. He came to Newcastle not so long ago, and he did a very good job there. But during the off-season, he was actually poached by the Western Sydney Wanderers. And that caused quite a kerfuffle between the two clubs. I don't think it went down too well at all. It says here that Robbie Stanton was also considered for the job at the Jets. To be honest, I've never heard of Robbie Stanton in my life. As you can see, Laurie McKenna is our managing director. Now, Laurie McKenna was a former manager of the Central Coast Mariners and also, from memory, a former Lord Mayor of Gosford City Council, so obviously a man with quite a few talents. The facilities, look, we'll take a very quick look at the facilities for the Jets shortly. This is a bit of a look at some of the main players at the Jets. We'll take a look at the squad a bit later on, but there's some familiar names there like Topple Stanley, Bugard, Hoffman, O'Donovan, even Ali Abbas, who seems to have come back to the A-League. But there's also some ageing players there as well. They're not really a young squad, not like some other A-League clubs. They've got some ageing players there. This is probably our club vision, fairly simple. Develop using the club's youth system, and they just want us to be competitive in the A-League. And as you can see, looking forward, they're looking to sell the club. Now, what's actually happened there is the club was owned by a Chinese businessman. He had the A-League licence. He had it stripped from him about 4 or 5 months ago, mainly because he hadn't put any money into the club since late 19. So at the moment, the club's on the market looking for a new buyer, and it's currently being financed by the Australian Professional League. Basically, the other 11 A-League clubs are making sure money is being pumped into the Newcastle Jets, because if that didn't happen, the club would have probably slipped into administration probably 4 or 5 months ago, and that would have been a bit of a disaster. Not only for the Jets, but not a good thing for the A-League either. Okay, press conferences and all that, yes, look, I'll probably handle that as usual. Now, in the inbox, just want to take a look at, okay, club vision. We've already it's very simple. We're going to accept that. No arguments there. Now, in the A-League, we do have some squad selection rules which are quite different to probably overseas leagues. And they are: the squad must have no more than 23 players. The squad must have no more than 5 foreign players. At least 2 goalkeepers must be in the squad, and at least 1 goalkeeper must be on the bench. A total salary of the squad must be less than $62,000 a week. The A-League currently has a salary cap. There are plans to maybe scrap that in the next 1 to 2 years, but at the moment it still stays with the A-League. There cannot be more than 2 designated players in the squad. Now, they're just basically referring to marquee players. They used to use the word marquee, and for some reason they've dropped that, and then they now call the players designated players. There must be at least 3 Australian under-23 players in the squad, and the squad must have at least 3 domestic under-23 players. And of course, the salary cap excludes the designated players. So they're the simple squad rules for the A-League. Fairly simple to follow. The transfer window, look, in the A-League, we don't have a proper transfer system currently in Australia. There are plans to introduce one in the next maybe 1 to 2 years. But at the moment, Australian clubs cannot buy and sell players amongst themselves. So a player can move from one club to the other at no cost. But that's all going to probably change in the next 1 to 2 years. And clubs will be able to buy and sell players. And it will probably be quite a good thing, because it's pretty crazy if a state league club ends up developing a young player, and that player ends up moving to an A-League club for absolutely no consideration at all. So in the future there will be a transfer system for the A-League. And before we go any further looking at staff or maybe players, the A-League is a little bit different to overseas leagues. In fact, all football codes in Australia are quite different. As you can see, we've got a top 6 in the A-League, and if you finished 3rd to 6th, you go into elimination finals. They're all sudden death. Teams that finish 1st and 2nd, they go straight into a semi-final. Now, whoever wins the 2 semi-finals will then go and play a grand final. And if you win the grand final, you will be crowned champions. That's right. If you finish top of the table, you are not champions. You are called minor premiers. You do get a bit of silverware. They call it the Premier's Plate. So you do win something to put on the mantelpiece, but you must win the grand final to be crowned as champion. And if you want to have a quick look at the preview, as you can see, Sydney FC are the favourites. Well, no surprise there. Followed by Western Sydney Wanderers and Perth Glory, with the Newcastle Jets sitting in 10th position at 200 to 1. I wouldn't argue with that. A little bit surprised that Wellington is at 500 to 1. That doesn't seem quite right. But Central Coast Mariners at 1,000 to 1. No surprise there. I think they've collected the last 3 or 4 wooden spoons in the A-League, so they've been doing it fairly tough in recent seasons. And as you can see with the pre-season, it's a very long pre-season. We're only mid-September at the moment, so we've got about 10 friendlies to play, mainly local teams in the Newcastle area, including a couple of state league clubs like Sydney Olympic and Sydney United. But we open our A-League season away to Perth Glory, and then we have an F3 derby at home, where we get to play the Central Coast Mariners. So that's just a very quick look at the A-League and the final series and how that all works in a very simple way. Just taking a very quick look at the club. Look at just general information. It's got around about 11,000 odd ticket holders. I think that's fairly accurate. It was founded in 2000. Nickname of the Jets, mainly because of the local Williamstown RAAF base. I think that's why they get the name of the Jets. And of course, their only, their fierce rivals and only rivals are the Central Coast Mariners, and that's the F3 derby, named after a freeway. Facilities are pretty good. They play at the Hunter Stadium. costs them $600,000 a year. Capacity of 33,000, built in 1970, rebuilt in 2011. Fairly decent, I guess you could say. Corporate facilities, training and youth. The pitch is very good, so it's not a bad stadium to play at. They do have some affiliates. Well, the Newcastle Jets, they must have a team in the NPL. That's the National Premier League, and they've also got a tie-up with Academica. And they are an amateur side from Portugal. I have no idea why they would have a tie-up with an amateur side from Portugal. That really makes absolutely no sense to me at all. So I think would be probably terminating that link very, very quickly. So, and also with their history, they've won the A-League final series only once. That was in 2008. They were runners-up in 2018. Probably very unlucky not to win it that year. And in the regular A-League season, they've been runners-up twice in 2008 and 2018, and they were third place in 2007. If we take a bit of a look at the staff, very quickly, as you can see, a lot of vacancies there. A lot of positions have to be filled. 5 on the coaching staff, oodles on recruitment. I mean, I don't even have a chief scout or a scout. I've only got a director of football, and there's about 4 medical positions that need to be filled as well. So there's a fair bit of work that has to go into that side of things before the season gets underway. We'll try and fill most of those positions. Maybe not all, but most we'll try and fill. Now with the squad, let's take a very quick look at some key players in the squad. We've got a couple of decent goalkeepers. Jack Duncan, 27-year-old. I think he's got some decent attributes there, especially for the A-League. I quite like his pace and fairly good command of the area. A little bit worried about eccentricity, but anyway, we'll see how he goes in the trial games. Luis Italiano, another goalkeeper, he's 29. He's been around for quite a few years in the A-League. Maybe not as good as Jack Duncan, but I think he could still do a job for us if called upon. Now, we've got 2 central defenders here, both 34 years of age. Nikolai Topol-Stanley, even though he's 34, he's got still some very good attributes. He's a little bit slow with a pace of 9, but very good leadership, very brave. Quite a tall man. I'd say he can certainly still do a job for us this coming season, but at 34, probably his final season in the A-League. And Nigel Bugard, once again, even though he's 34, he's got some decent attributes, a little bit quicker than Nikolai, but at 34, I think this might be his final year at this level too. Unfortunately, we've got Lachlan Jackson. Young guy, only 25, out with damaged cruciate ligaments for the next 2 to 3 months, so that's a bit of a blow. Matthew Miller, a young 24-year-old that can play anywhere on the right side. Certainly got some pace, so I think he'll be featuring somewhere on the right side for us. Maybe in the attacking third of the park. Ben Kantarovsky, a 28-year-old, he's a defensive midfielder. That's probably his best position. I think he can do a fairly decent job for us in that role. Johnny Kutrumbus, now he's only 22, can play central defender as well as defensive midfielder and even right and left back. Pace is a bit of a worry, only 7. And he's only 22 and he's got a pace of 7. You'd think he'd be a little bit quicker. But anyway, we'll see how he goes in the pre-season matches. Ali Abbas, now that's a name from the past, now 34, can play along the left side. I think he's probably more likely to be a defender than maybe an attacker, but we'll have to wait and see. Connor O'Toole, 23-year-old at left back, and I quite like the look of some of those attributes. His tackling of 13, determination, decisions of 14, good pace, Good work rate and decent vision as well. So I think he'll be playing at left back for us. Jason Hoffman, another player who's been in the A-League for quite some time, now 31. Funny enough, can play right back or striker. But looking at those attributes, I think he's going to be playing most likely right back for me. Quite a tall man at 190 centimetres. Steven Ugarkovic, very good, probably central defender, only 26. Good teamwork, very good work rate, very determined, lots of stamina. So he'll certainly be featuring in our games. Angus Thurgate is a young fellow, only 20, plays in quite a few positions. In the real world, he's been doing very well for the Jets this current season. He's been playing extremely well, but we'll certainly give him the opportunity in the friendlies to see what he can actually do. We've got some loan players here. We've got a Luka, I don't know how to pronounce his name, I'm very sorry, from a Croatian club. Yes, a Croatian club. A central midfielder. He's only 19, but yeah, we'll see how he goes in the friendlies. That's interesting. Loaney. We've got Luridun. Once again, not very good on pronunciations, but this is from a Malaysian side, Johor DT, 28. He's actually from Kosovo, central midfielder. But look, he's got some decent attributes there. An advanced playmaker. He's got flair of 12. Technique of 16, extremely high. So I think he'll be featuring as well. Roy O'Donovan, now 35-year-old Irish striker. Even though he's 35, he's still got some fairly decent attributes. He will certainly be leading the line for us. He certainly can score. He can be a bit volatile. He can see red cards from time to time, but hopefully he'll just go about his business and put the ball in the back of the net instead of collecting red cards. Now, Costa Petratos. The Jets used to have 3 Petratos brothers at the club. I know Dimitri's the better known of the 3, and he's now plying his trade in the Middle East. But we still seem to have Costa, only 22, can play in quite a few positions in the forward line. So I think he'll be given a run, probably out the left. Rami Nazarene is a player on loan from Melbourne City, and he can play left, right, or even centre, sitting behind the striker. So I think he'll get his opportunities as well. Joey Champness, now that's a bit of a shame. Good player, only 23, but he's on loan to Brisbane Roar. He was a Jets player in the past, and a couple of years ago he left football to pursue a music career in Los Angeles. I think it was to do with rap. But unfortunately, COVID brought that to a crashing end, and he came back to Australia. But I think he's from Brisbane, that's his hometown. So he's worked out a loan deal with the Brisbane Roar. But it's a bit of a shame because he's a good young player that could have been playing on the left side of the field for us. Valentino Yule, 25-year-old forward from South Sudan. I think he might end up being a bit of a backup for O'Donovan. I think that might be the case. He's very pacey, which is good. Fairly decent passing, good first touch. But we'll see how he goes in the friendlies. And we've also got another young player, a 21-year-old Apostolos Stamatopoulos. Probably got that completely wrong as well. Only 21. He can play striker, poacher as well. Fairly pacey, with 14 for pace and acceleration. Finishing is a bit average at 10, but he's only 21. But once again, he could be a very good backup. So in a nutshell, that's probably the main players I'd like to look at this club. We won't go into the youth side of things really. I think we'll give that a bit of a mess. So we've got a fair bit to do before the league kicks off. We've got 10 friendlies to play. Then we're away to Perth Glory in the opening round of the A-League, and then we've got the F3 Derby home to Central Coast Mariners. So that'll be something to look forward to. I think that they'll be the the two games we'll show in our second video. So that's about it, I think, for this video. I'll look just one thing. We'll look at a quick look at finances. Now, this club has over $1.3 million in the bank, which does stagger me, but somehow they've got that money. A transfer budget of just over $127,000 as well. So financially, they don't seem to be doing too badly at the moment. But it does surprise me, 1.3 million in the bank. I'd love to know where that came from. But anyway, that's about it for this video. These videos are going to be coming out every Thursday and Saturday. Now, if you're in Australia, that will be 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Summer Time. If you're viewing this from the United Kingdom, well, lucky you, it will be brekkie time for you in the morning at 8 a.m. But that's going to be every Saturday and Thursday. So I hope you've liked this very first video of A-League to the UK with the Newcastle Jets in the Australian A-League. I hope to see your company again in video number 2. Until then, this is Barry Foster saying goodbye.